everyone. Welcome back to our community channel. And today we would be discussing an end-to-end machine learning model for credit risk analysis for beginners. So let's start.
When you lend out to anyone in your bank, you want to see what is the probability that this person will not default. So what you do is, let's say we are not using any machine learning model. Then based on our common sense, what we will do is we will see what is the age of this person, the income of this person, maybe the gender of the person, nature of occupation, past history, how many times he has defaulted with other banks, how many banks he or she has taken loan from, and all of that, right? So this is based on simple common sense. Now what machine learning does is that we will take all these variables: income, age, gender, nature of occupation, past history, number of loans with other banks, the number of times a person has defaulted, etc. All of this as the input variables. All these would be x1, x2, x3, x4, and so on. And the y variable would be whether this person will default or not. So this is our target variable. So in this video, we would be predicting y, whether the person will default or not, based on the various x. So basically we are trying to predict y basis all the x's. So y equals to f of a of x1 plus b of x2, where a, b, c are weights, and x1, x2, x3, xn are the different variables, the input variables, age, income, etc. So we are trying to find out this function f, which is defining the relationship between input and output, and this function is nothing but your machine learning model. So we will now be understanding how can we apply machine learning to predict what is whether a person will default or not.
Example, as you can see on the screen. So we have two people, ABC and XYZ. Okay, so the first person has has a high income. He's married. His past credit score is 100. He doesn't have too many loans, doesn't have any defaults. So the target means the output variable, whether a person is likely to default or not. So this target variable value is coming as 0. That means the person is not likely to default. And for XYZ, if you see, the person's income is very less, his past credit score is very low, number of loans are very high, he has also defaulted in the past. So he is more likely to default. Now, even if you don't use a machine learning, right, even if you see these data points just like that, then using your business sense also, you can understand, okay, ABC has a very high income, has never defaulted, so he's not likely to default, so let me give him the loan. But XYZ, he has very low income and he has already defaulted in the past, has too many loans on his name, so I think he's not the right candidate to be given a loan. So this is what you will do. So machine learning is nothing but applying your common sense using data. So you saw that we applied the common sense, you basis common sense, we decided whether a person is likely to default or not. Machine learning is doing nothing but replacing that common sense with actual numbers. Now what happens is that these okay, now we will also go a little bit into detail about how we are going to implement the machine learning models, as is the topic of this today's presentation. So we see that see, income, age, okay, they are in numbers, 25, 3, 40, 19, this is fine. But occupation, marital status, nature of job, and many such more variables would be there which are not numeric, right? So machine cannot understand anything which is not a number. So machine is, it only understands numbers. So what you will need to do is you would need to handle the non-numeric variables. So what would you do? First, you would be selecting all the data types of object type. Object is non-numeric, okay, string type. And you would select all of these. And then you would be, treating categorical and ordinal variables separately. Categorical variables is nothing but the variables which do not have a rank. For example, male and female, or let's say blood group, or you can say region, north, west, east, south. So it's not like one region is better than the other, nothing like that, right? They're just labels. So this is your categorical variable. So you would be using get dummies, which will be converting the non-numeric data into numeric data, which machines can understand. So you can see before get dummies, your gender was male and female, and after get dummies, it was 1, 0, whatever. So it's not like one is better than 0. It's not like one is greater than 0 or anything. It is simply that male is denoted by some X number, which is 1, and female is denoted by some Y number, which is 0. That's it. These are simply labels. So if you use get dummies, then machine would know that, these numbers are simply labels for some kind of string data. So 0 and 1 don't have any numeric importance. The next type of variables that you need to handle, in string variables would be ordinal variables. Ordinal variables are variables which have a rank. There is a specific order. For example, super skilled is better than skilled is better than unskilled, or very good is better than good, better than bad, better than very bad, whatever. So now if you want to treat these type of variables in some way, then I have given a code also. You can see that on the screen. So type of job is the column name. So you can just map it. If in type of job column you get super skilled option, then you just replace that with 3. If it is skilled, replace it with 2. Unskilled, replace it with 1. Again, 3 2 1. It doesn't mean that super skilled is 1 unit better than skilled. No, these are simply numbers. I could even have given a number like 5 for super skilled, maybe 2 for skilled, and I don't know, 0.5 for unskilled, whatever. I could have given any number. So the numbers are only denoting that super skilled is better than skilled, better than unskilled, but how much better, we don't know. For example, if there are numbers like 100 greater than 90, you know that 100 is 10 units better than 90, right? But it is not the same with ordinal variables. Even though you will see that machine is giving some numbers, but the numbers are only in place of labels. They do not have any numeric significance as such. So when you use these get dummies and map functions, right, machine will understand that these are just used for labels. Now that you have already handled the non-numeric variables, the next step would be handling missing values. So this is very important. You will get lot of missing values most of the times. Okay, so for example, you can see this table here on the screen. So this x3 column, right, the first row we have a null. Now if you don't read this null, right, it is going to be a big problem, because the machine will not be able to understand what null means. So either you can replace all the null values with 0, but the better way would be you can replace it with some mean, median, mode, whatever. So you can see on the screen how you can replace null value with the mean of the column x3. So if you use dot fill na method equals to mean, then you can easily replace the null value with the mean value. Okay, then another thing that we have used in the code at Kaggle will be your iterative imputer. So iterative imputer, what it will do is it will consider see, I will give you a simple example. So for example, these 3 rows at the bottom right on the like slide that you see. So what we will do is, now x3 would be my y output variable. Okay, and all the x1, x2, x4, x5, and x6 would be my input variable. So basis this, I will make a regression line, and I will be able to predict this x3 based on past data. If you don't understand, let it be, because just Google it and go in depth. I will also mention the link of my article where you can read about it in depth. But you understand, right, that we need to basically replace mean values, missing values. Mostly we replace it with mean, median, mode for simplicity's sake. But if you want to use a better method, then iterative imputer is definitely a much better method. So see, if you can see the template, imputer, this is the variable name, is equal to iterative imputer. Iterative imputer is the function name. Okay, so I mean, it is a simple cut, copy, paste thing. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. All these things, right, the templates are mentioned, and you can directly copy paste and use in your code. So whenever I am making codes, right, I do not write the code from scratch. That would be a waste of time, right? Why would I do that? Because every time I have to apply the same technique, same code in every problem, with a little bit of tweaking here and there, obviously. So just you should just know how to copy paste, what to Google, and you must know the basics, so that you can Google if you're stuck somewhere. even the best coders, right, they also Google most of the times, because the technology keeps changing, syntax keeps changing, some or the other changes keep on happening. So this is something you shouldn't shy away from. It's considered a much better skill than, you know, doing everything from scratch and taking a lot more time. Why not use somebody's effort and, you know, customize the code according to your need and get the work done? That is smart work, and that is much more valued in today's time. So now, see, this is the first line is imputer equals to iterative imputer, and right, that this is the simple function you're calling, iterative imputer. And then pd dot data frame imputer dot transform. See, till here you copy paste the same thing. Where there is missing columns is mentioned, right? You just you know, change that missing columns word with your columns which are missing in your data set. That's it. And you can, as it is, copy paste the same thing. Okay, the same thing you could have easily done for the other ordinal variables, categorical variables. You can directly use the code that is mentioned. Okay, like pd.get dummies, you can see here. So instead of training data, you just, you know, paste the name of your training data set in the columns. Call for dummies, that columns that you can see, right? You can just mention the columns in your data set for which you need a dummy, the categorical columns, and that's it. And for ordinal variables also, I have written ordinal variable 1. Like that, if let's say you have 10 variables, then you have to, you know, write this statement 10 times, and you can just replace this ordinal variable 1 with the or variable name itself. Let's say it is the skill level, so you can make it training data bracket, instead of ordinal variable 1, you can make it skill level. Like that, you know, you just have to change the name of the column, and that's all. And you can directly use the code as it is, which is the beauty of coding. So you don't have to, you know, be a researcher and make everything from scratch. No, be smart, do smart work and get it done, you know, the same thing in a shorter time. Now we will have training data and testing data. So what happens is, let's say, you know, I'm trying to teach a machine which type of people are likely to default. Let's take the analogy of a dog. Let's say I'm trying to teach a machine, just identify which of these animals is a dog. Okay, so these are the different type of dogs that I have shown the machine. I will tell by heart these type of, you know, animals, and understand that this, any of these, if you see, it's a dog. Okay, and then I will show the machine a dog and a cat, and I will ask it, tell me which one of these is a dog. So machine should be able to tell me. So training data is the data on which you teach the machine, you know, how a model should be, etc. So you are teaching a machine that if I take it in credit risk terms, then you will teach the machine which type of people are likely to be defaulters and which types are not likely to be defaulters. And you would expect the machine to understand the differences, and then you know, you would be testing the machine. Once you are able to train it, right, you will be testing the machine. And how will you do that? You will now you let's say you have had 1 lakh transactions in your bank. Okay, out of that, let's say 45 okay, 1 lakh, let's say, okay, 95,000, let's make it 95,000 did not default and 5,000 defaulted. Okay, so now you have trained the machine that see, 95,000 people who did not default have these type of characteristics. The 5,000 people who defaulted have these other type of characteristics. So if I show you a fresh person, you should be able to tell me whether this person is going to default or not. Okay, but I cannot see, I taught the machine, but I cannot blindly trust the machine, right? Whether it has understood the concept or not, how am I going to know that? So for that, I will have to test the machine. So what I will do, see, if I have to test you, I should have an answer key, and then you will write the answers and I will tally it whether it is the correct answer or not. So on new data, I cannot test the machine, right? Because I don't even know the output of that data. So from the past data only, those, you know, 1 lakh transactions that I had, let's say I will give some 10,000 transactions to the machine, and I will not show the output. I will not tell the machine whether that person defaulted or not, the target variable, right? Y variable. I will not tell it. So what will happen is, I will ask the machine, you go through all these, you know, you go through everything, and you tell me out of these 10,000, who do you think would have defaulted based on the other, let's say 90,000 transactions that you have already seen, for which you have seen the output variable. So it will say out of those 10,000, let's say it is able to predict only 60% correctly, 60% outcomes correctly. So that is a very bad accuracy, right? That means that the machine has not understood well enough. So what you will do is you will tell the machine to, you will train it further, you will show it more examples, you will try to improve the accuracy, we will discuss how to improve it. So you will do all of that so that the machine learns well and it is able to predict well. So my ultimate goal is to be able to predict well. That is my ultimate goal. Now what happens is, so you are clear with the training and test data. Now we come to aligning of the training and test data. So what happens for aligning is, you're only going to take the common columns out of both test and training data. Okay, so let's say the training data has 1 lakh columns and the test data has 50,000 columns. Okay, so you have to so you understood what is training data and testing data, right? Training data is the data on which you train the machine, and testing data is the data on which you test the machine, right? So both of them have to have the same number of columns. So you will basically just keep only the common columns in both and remove all the rest. Okay, next we have outlier detection. So what happens in outlier detection is, outliers is a very important, when you are trying to, let's say, do what? You're trying to, clean the data and everything. So outliers are very important. Outlier detection, yeah, using isolation forest. So what happens is that, see, you have this code that you can see here, right? So you can directly, just copy paste the same code, okay, as it is. You don't have to do anything extra in this. Okay, instead of this imputed total, no, just put your data frame for which you are calculating the outliers. Everything else will remain the same, nothing else will change. Okay, as it is, you copy paste. Then you will get, see, 1 and -1. So wherever there is an outlier, right, that row will be -1. Wherever there is no outlier, it would be +1. So we can see that there are 30,000 something rows which are outliers, and the others are not outliers. So like that, you can easily understand which row is an outlier, and you can easily remove the same. What happens in data imbalance is that, see, we are dealing with two type of classes, majority and minority. So majority class is the class which will have the maximum instances, and minority class is the class which will have the minimum instances. So what will happen is that, your default class, right, default class will be the class which will be like minority. Very few people will default, and non-default class would be the majority class. That is, maximum people will not default, right? So you, for example, you can see zero class is the non-default class. It has way more people than the default class, 10 times more, approximately 10 to 9. So basically, there is a lot of gap. So what will happen is, you will not get the correct result if you do not treat for class imbalance. So basically, to correct the class imbalance, right? For example, you can see here, when I'm applying the logistic regression, I am putting class weight equal to balanced. Similarly, for other machine learning algorithms, there will be other ways to correct this class imbalance. So make sure that you are correcting the class imbalance before proceeding any further. After you have corrected that, then you would have an exploratory data analysis. So what would happen in this is, you are going to be looking at the data, like the graphs and everything, and then you would be understanding how my data looks like, what is the gender of, what is the income group, what is the age bracket, nature of occupation, and so on. So you can see a code here. Okay, so you can just directly copy paste the same code. Okay, instead of name type suit, you just enter the name of your column. Okay, the column for which you want the histogram, that's it. And then you change the title, change the X title, title of X axis, title of Y axis, just change that, and you will get a histogram. Okay, which will show you the distribution of that particular variable. So you will get a basic idea. Let's say the variable, instead of name type suit is age, then you will understand how many people are between let's say 0 to 10, 0 to, sorry, it's not 0, but 18 to 25 years of age, how many are between 25 to 35, and so on, right? You would get to know a basic idea. So this is how it will be done. You see, again, it's just a copy paste. You just copy this code and just change the name of this variable. Instead of name type suit, you just change it to whatever variable, whatever is the variable name, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else. You just copy paste and that's all, and you can directly run the you can directly get histograms, and that's all. Now let's talk about feature selection. So as you can see here, so what happens is we have, let's say, 1 lakh features. So features are nothing but your X input variables, right? The age, income, gender, occupation, all the input variables that you saw, they are the same as features. They're also called as features. Okay, you can call them input variables or features, it's up to you. So but in technical terms, this the term of selecting the relevant features is called as feature selection. So what happens in feature selection is that you have, let's say, 1 lakh variables. Okay, so you're not going to use all the 1 lakh variables, right? Because even if you can obviously use all the 1 lakh variables also to predict the y, which is the output, which is the target variable, which is whether a person will default or he will not default, right? So if you're trying to predict using all these X variables, right? So you will understand that all of them are not relevant. Only few would be relevant. Okay. So what you would do is you have to, pick these relevant variables. So how will you do that? You will do that using feature select. Yeah. So what will you do is you can paste the function data underscore wheres as it is given in Kaggle. So for example, we have this feature. Okay, this feature selection using information value, right? I'll paste this link in the description, you can have a look. So this entire function, right, just paste this as it is. Like, you don't have to change even a single thing in this. Till here you just paste it. Now from here onwards also you paste the same thing as it is. You just change this X and Y. X is your input variable of the training data and Y is your output variable of the training data. Okay, that's it. This is all you have to do. You just copy paste the entire code and you just change X train and Y train, and that's it. And then you will get the output of information value. You will get some information values. You can reject the information values which are very low. Okay, so ideally, you will get so I have just tried to understand how many. You can copy paste this as it is too. So whichever columns have information value greater than 0.02, I will only be getting those. Okay, that's it. So that is the only variable, the only columns that I will be keeping. So this takes care of feature selection. So if you, as you can see on the screen, right? So basically you paste the function as it is, and then you just change X train and Y train, and that's it to your input variables of the training data and output variable of the training data, like that. Now you can see in the feature name and information value, the first feature has a information value of 0.02, which is okayish. Okay, the third feature has a 0.5 information value, which is very good. And this second feature has a very, very low information value, which is very bad. So there is no set rule, but usually, any feature which is below 0.02 information value should be discarded as a like common practice. But it's not written in stone. You can decide it for your own self. Okay, you just see few features which have a very low information value and see if any one of them makes sense. Otherwise you can simply discard those. Okay, that's it. So this will help you to understand the information value and weight of evidence. Now we come to applying different machine learning models. So I have given a template how you can directly get the machine learning model working. So what you will do is, see, this logistic regression I have implemented. We have an imbalanced class, right? So I have written class weight equal to balanced. Random state, you can just keep it as it is. Okay, we can, you can Google it. It is not very significant. Just leave it as it is. Copy and paste it as it is. LR underscore CLF is just a random name that I have given to the variable which contains this function. Okay, we are calling this function and storing it in some variable which is LR underscore CLF. Now this particular variable, we will fit the training data in this machine learning model using a fit function. So I have just fitted X train and Y train, which is X is input variables of the training set and Y train is output variable of the training data set. Now I will be predicting using the model. So how will I predict? I will just call a predict function, dot predict function, and I will call the, I will just input the X train and Y train in that. And then I will get some Y train predict. Now what exactly it means? This predict using model means that I have shown you, okay, I have fitted this model in X train and Y train. And now I want you to predict according to your model that you have got, what should be the value of Y train according to the model. Now this can be a little confusing. So we'll go to the next slide. What I'm trying to say is, let's say this, this is one, you can see some dots here, right? A lot of dots. So X axis and Y axis are there. Now, if you pass a line through these points, then that line is called as your machine learning model. That is machine learning model, right? A line which basically gives you the function between Y and X. That is all. So what I'm trying to say, but you can see in this slide that this line will not be able to cover each and every point. Okay, there are some lines which are lying like away from this line. We cannot cover each and every line, but the Y equal to f of X, and that the f is a function which covers at least majority of the points. Okay, so if you will reconstruct Y using this new function, right, you are not going to get exactly same Y train. There will be some deviations, because as you can see, this particular line will not cover all the points. So I'm just trying to understand that what is going to be your Y train predicted when we apply logistic regression. And then this, why am I doing this? Because I have my Y train values and I am asking the model, you predict according to you what should be the Y train values. And then I am checking the accuracy of the data. So I am going to check my accuracy on the training set. I will just, you can as it is copy paste this line. Okay, exactly same, you can copy paste. Provided that your data set is also named as X train and Y train. X train is the input variables of training set and Y train is the output variable of training set. If the if the names are different, then you can accordingly change here. That's it. But this template you can directly use. And similarly, you will check the prediction, the accuracy on the test set. And finally, you are going to get some kind of accuracy scores for different models. And now what you will do is you will be comparing the accuracy scores for each of these models, and then you will be selecting one final model. Let's say I selected random forest because random forest seems to have the best accuracy on training and test set. So what I would be doing is, now I will be optimizing my ML model by choosing the best hyperparameters. Now what you can do is, this is for random forest. Okay, similarly you will get codes for random search from Google for every single model. Okay, just copy paste, that's it. So here you can copy paste the entire code that I have written here as it is. Okay, you just have to do one thing. Wherever it is yellow, right, that part you can change. Basically you can change, instead of start, you can start instead of 200, you can start from 2000, you can stop at 4 lakh, whatever. So you can change all this and everything else remains exactly same. So you just have to copy paste and change little bit here and there and use it. See, using the model is the skill which is more important, because you will anyways have a team who will be coding. And even if you are coding, right, I have coded a lot. So I directly copy paste to save my time, because I don't have that much time that I will sit, scratch my head and make code from scratch every single time. No, I don't do that. So you can directly copy paste, and you should just know what to copy paste and how. You just have to customize a little bit here and there, and that's it. Your job is done. Now you have final predictions. So using the new hyperparameters, you will get some predictions, right, for your Y. And then what we will do is like this. So you will have a random forest predictor with new hyperparameter values, because you have used the grid search in the previous slide, right? Now you will be fitting this new predictor on your X train and Y train. And again, you will check the accuracy. It will be much better than 86%. Why did we do this optimize ML model by choosing hyperparameters? Why did we do that? We did that only to improve the accuracy of the model from 86% to some other number. So finally you will get a much better number. And that's all. So I will summarize a little bit what we did. First, we need to define the problem at hand. What is the output variable? What are the input variables? Then we need to clean the data. We need to treat non-numeric variables. We need to clean the like missing values and outliers and all of that again. So let me summarize the steps a little bit. So what you would do is, first you need to define the problem. What is the y? What are the x's? Y is the output. What is the output we are trying to get? And what are the different input variables which will determine the output? Okay, once you have that in place, then you will be handling the non-numeric data. And how would we, so the categorical and ordinal variables, you will be handling all of that. Then you would be handling the missing data. You would also handle outliers. You would remove outliers. Then you would once all of this is done, right, then you would have feature selection. In feature selection, let's say you have 1 lakh features, so you will only select some x, let's say 10,000 or whichever have a good information value and weight of evidence, as I showed you, right? So mainly the good, whichever has a good information value, you will select those and keep those. That's it. Then you will also you will check class imbalance. If there is any class imbalance, you will have to adjust it. You will have to correct it in your model. Then you will check all the different models options that you have. You will implement all of them and you will select the one which gives you best accuracy. And once you have selected the model, then you would be once you're optimizing it further, and then that's it.